If H.G. Wells had invented a time machine in the Victorian era and he could time travel to his present day age and listen to all the subhumans whining about the cost of living crisis and how they're struggling to make it through day to day, and I think one of the first things he would notice is the size of people, and he'd be thinking, these people are complaining they haven't got enough money to eat. They're complaining they've got to use food banks to survive, and they're all obese. He'd probably be noticing the lifestyle they live, the way they live on takeout food and pre-made food, expensive pre-made processed food, and things like McDonald's, for example. And how often they'll be having takeaway food, and these are the poorest people in society. Another thing you probably notice is these people are so fat. These poor people are so fat. They can't even be asked to walk half a mile to McDonald's to buy McDonald's. They have to call one of these eat out, Deliveroo uh, asylum seekers to pedal the push bike half a mile to deliver their McDonald's so they can get even more fatter. He'd also be looking at the lives that they live, the way they live. He'd be looking at them living in houses or flats with central heating, running water, inside toilet, no need for a chamber pot. They'd be wearing brand new Nike £150 trainers from JD Sports, as opposed to hand-me-down jeans with patches in them that have been handed down from maybe their uncles and their grandparents in some cases. He'd be looking at the way they live, the way the houses are relatively clean. Yeah, there is a few issues, maybe a bit of mould here and there, but generally speaking, we do live even our poorest people in society do live a relatively good life. He'd also be looking at how many people have cars. And the invention of the car was pretty much, I don't know when it was invented, just late Victorian era, I believe, and anybody who had a car was considered rich. Now everybody has a car. He'd be looking at how everyone has all these modern technology, Netflix, iPhones, basically computers you're walking around with in your hand, which is like a book of a million books on one app, really, one piece of technology. And he'd be looking at people whining and moaning that they're struggling to survive and they're begging the government to give them more money because they're too lazy to get a job. And he'd also be looking at the way that they do work, the way that maybe 5, 6 year olds are sent up chimneys and coal mines to work 12-hour shifts with a life expectancy of maybe 6 to 10 years. And after that, I mean, the kids wasn't living into late to the teens in them days, and the poor anyway. And I think he'd be looking, I don't know, he must be thinking, you must be having a laugh. You know, you claim that you can't survive, you claim that you need food banks, you claim that you're struggling to get through each day, you're claiming that everything, you know, you're literally getting through each day. And you're literally a day away from starving to death. That's what would make it sound. And H.G. Wells would probably having a real big laugh at this. And I'm not saying things aren't tight. I'm not saying things aren't tough. Sure, there's an economy crisis caused through the COVID virus pandemic and the lockdowns and etc., which is going to bite us in the bum at some point in the future. And we may well actually live that kind of life. You know, if the system completely collapses like it did in Venezuela and around the world and other places, Argentina seems to be having a rough time and that way, it could get like that. And people will start to think, wow, we had it so good. I'm not saying things aren't great. I mean, we've got issues with the housing market and the asylums, the immigrants that are coming into the country and taking our houses and our jobs and stuff like that. Yeah, things are getting tight. But when you think about it, not as bad as people make them out. I mean, the poorest people in society are the least healthy. We've got 12 million waiting lists on the NHS, which is roughly around one in 5 of the population. When you take into consideration, most of them are the poorest. And we've got 1 in 3 obesity in the UK. Most of them are the poorest. It's probably like 1 in 2 for the poorest. The poorest people are actually the least healthy because they don't look after themselves. I mean, they're chain smoking, alcoholism, recreational drugs. And also H.G. Wells would probably be looking at the way the poorest live. I mean, the way they go for hair extensions and Botoxes and pump themselves with steroids and get tattooed every month and etc. And he must be thinking, what the hell is going on? You know, I mean, Botox and surgery used to be something that was reserved for the elites at one point. You know, the movie stars, the Marilyn Monroes of this world. And now it seems anyone can get them. Anyone is getting them. And I mean, I think people just. I mean, sure, we'd like our lives to be even better. I mean, people, the poorest people can usually travel abroad. We can usually fly abroad at least once a year if we put our mind to it and save a few £100. It's possible to do on government benefits, the welfare system. Just make people so lazy, just make people so unappreciative. No matter what the government gives to people, they're going to want more. They're just going to get more and more spoiled and want more and more gadgets and more materialisms, and they're going to think that they haven't got enough.